Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2009. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. In London, it's 4:30 p.m. In Hamilton, it's 12:30 p.m. In Mexico City, it's 9:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. On this day in history, not that much happened. We did a little scan, and the only notables we could find is that Kevin Bacon, the actor, is turning 51 today. That's not particularly newsworthy. I apologize to Kevin Bacon, but I'm sure he's not watching. Now we'll go to our main news. Why is this man smiling? Yes, that's who you think it is. That's Maurice Hank Greenberg, and he certainly is smiling. Late yesterday, a federal court jury in New York City found that Hank Greenberg and his Star International company did not violate a trust agreement with AIG and improperly take control of a large block of AIG shares. AIG had alleged that Greenberg and Star had ransacked a trust fund that had been set up in 1970 to finance a deferred compensation program for AIG executives. AIG asserted that Greenberg had terminated the program as a retaliatory move after the company fired him in early 2005. AIG wanted the return of $185 million of its shares still held by Star and $4.3 billion in proceeds that Star allegedly yielded from the sale of AIG shares. Yesterday, however, and we have to bring this photo back up, can you do it again? Yesterday, after only 5.5 hours of deliberation, the 8-person jury found that Greenberg and Star were not liable for damages. The jury forewoman, a woman named Karen Juraneski, told Bloomberg News, quote, that the AIG case was weak and unsubstantiated. AIG's burden of proof was insurmountable. She said that when the deliberations began, 6 of the jurors already had favored Greenberg and Star, and 2 were undecided. After the verdict, the judge, U.S. District Judge Jed Rakoff, was quick to note that the ruling was, quote, not the final judgment. There is still the other shoe that needs to drop, so to speak. What he's talking about is the final ruling he's going to write on AIG's breach of trust claim against Star. He's going to have that ready by the end of August. However, the judge did say that he would not reverse the jury's conclusion that Star did not illegally take AIG shares. So, Mr. Greenberg, give credit where it's due. You should be very relaxed today. Some news circulating in the reinsurance industry. JLT is saying now that there had been no delay whatsoever in the payment of the hull claim for the crashed Air France Flight 447, the Airbus 330 that went down in the Atlantic on June 1st. None of the 228 people on board survived, of course. The CEO of JLT's aerospace division, a gentleman named Nigel Wayman, is reported as saying, quote, that Air France has been fully indemnified for the total loss of its plane in accordance with the terms of its aviation insurance policies. Some reports had been circulating that the lead insurer on the Air France book had not yet made the hull payment because it was not clear yet what had caused the accident. And speaking of possibly finding causes for the accident of the Airbus, the Insurance Day has a very interesting article today written by Christopher Monroe. It's saying that their sources in the aviation underwriting sector are saying that not enough is known yet about the use of carbon composite materials in airplane construction to price the risks properly. Here, of course, is a picture of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which is the airplane that it makes the most extensive use of carbon composites. Of course, the plane has been beset by delays, many of which whispers in the industry might be attributed to fuselage difficulties with the carbon composite materials. The article that Mr. Monroe writes this morning says that the versions of the Airbus 300 were the first to use composites in its construction. At that time, it was limited to minor elements such as tail attachment points. That's all changed now. 787 will make very extensive use of it. Back in an interview in January in the Insurance Day, the then CEO of Global Aerospace, Tony Medniuk, was talking about possible environmental hazards caused by the epoxy resin that holds the composites together. Now, of course, the scuttlebutt floating around the reinsurance sector is that the liabilities might extend far beyond environmental damages but might in fact be attributed or might in fact lead to actual weaknesses, structural weaknesses and deficiencies in carbon composite created planes. All too often we see stories noting the British Comet aircraft that had a structural deficiency and brought the whole fleet to the ground after several fatal crashes. So we'll keep our eyes on this. A lot of people and blogs are talking about this, especially in light of the most recent Airbus crash. Catlin is making some news in the aviation industry. They've made 4 new appointments to their London-based aviation team. Richard Power will join Catlin on 1 August as senior underwriter and head of the airline underwriting team in London. He most recently was with CV Star. Mark Stanley will come on in September as senior underwriter and head of aviation products and airport underwriting. Paul Cooper, who's currently with Catlin Guernsey, will also join the team in London as a class underwriter specializing in airline accounts, and Fiona Hodgson has joined Catlin as a senior aviation claims adjuster in London. Here's an interesting story that we noted. It deals with Aon's new CEO in London. It's written by Alan Bennett. The subheadline was, quote, "Most of the time we run into each other. That's the legacy of the number of acquisitions." After we saw that headline, we had to read further. Aon's new CEO, Rob Brown, has outlined plans to bring the components of the UK's biggest broker closer together as he positions the Aon business for growth. Brown, of course, succeeded Peter Harmer. That was announced last week. He said he would make sure the many businesses acquired by Aon in recent years worked as one. Quote, "Most of the time we run into each other. That's the legacy of the number of acquisitions. But we're looking to create much more unity at the top." He went on to say, "We'll be taking opportunity to service the needs of clients wherever they may be. This could include the global placement of risks." Mr. Brown said he would continue Harmer's plans to grow the business and divide it into different segments. Harmer is going to work alongside Brown until September when Harmer is going to return to Australia. In the meantime, Ted Devine is going to be helping out by coming over from Chicago on a regular basis. The news from the stock market started out pretty good. It was up about a full 0.5% by about 10 a.m. Now, of course, it's down about 9 points. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. There's a story that is emerging concerning a computer virus attack supposedly perpetrated by North Korea. A widespread computer attack began July 4th, knocked out websites of the Treasury Department, the Secret Service, and other government agencies, which now admitted to include the White House and the Pentagon, as well as a very substantial non-government agency, the New York Stock Exchange. Sites in South Korea were also affected, and the South Korean intelligence agency believes the attack was carried out by